Hello, it's Weekend Handicapper. In this video, we're going to learn about track bias. Does it exist? And if so, how can you use it to win at the track? Hello, it's Weekend Handicapper from weekendhandicapper.com, the site that shows you how to make money betting on horses. So if you hadn't already subscribed to this YouTube channel, check out the website for all the tips, tools, and resources to help you make money by betting on horses. So does track bias exist? And if it does, how do we use that to our favor when betting on horses? Now, those of you new to horse racing, or if you might never heard of the term track bias, let me explain it to you. It's one of the things that probably, as far as I'm aware of, that's the most controversial in horse racing. Some people don't think it exists, other people swear by it. So what is track bias? Track bias is basically when the track is favoring a running style or a post position or a location on the track more than others. And so a good example of track bias that I've heard several times, I think is a good analogy. Imagine if you're at the beach. Have you ever been to the beach? There right by the water, the sand is damp, it's wet from the waves coming up onto the beach. That sand in that particular part of the beach is very firm. And people usually run on it pretty easily, right off where the edge of the water came in. That sand is pretty firm. There's pretty good traction. Now, contrast that with going farther up the beach, away from the water. You have this soft, deep sand typically. And it's hard to get some traction. It's hard to get moving in that part of the sand. So picture a racetrack like that. You have some horses racing on that nice, firm, damp. Doesn't always have to be damp, of course, but the point is, some horses run faster on that particular part of the track versus other parts of the track where they're having a hard time getting going or it tires them out. So in horse racing, the track bias can usually be seen, if you believe in a track bias, by horses that are speed favoring. So a track might be speed favoring. Basically what that means is horses who got out to the lead have an advantage over the horses that don't. And the horses that are in the back or closing in, they can't, because the speed is favoring, or excuse me, the track is favoring speed. Therefore, no matter what horse, what the price is, that horse gets out to the early lead or near the lead and wins. And some people say over a pattern of races, a series of races, that if that keeps occurring no matter what the price is, then you have a speed favoring track. Other times you have the opposite, a closing favoring track. So all the horses that went out and got out to the early lead, they can't finish the deal. They get tired, they seem like they're backing up. And the horses that are in the back close, and the horses that win those particular races are closers. So some people say that's a track bias in favor or advantage to the closers. Others, there's a very well-known belief that sometimes the rail at a racetrack is where you want to be. So you'll see jockeys put their horses down there. Horses, no matter what their post positions, are winning on the rail. So that's another example of track bias. So if you're not aware of it, please take it serious and keep an open mind, and I'll let you judge for yourself and what's some ways that you can learn about track bias or see if there is track bias. We are so fortunate that we live in a day and age right now where we can have access to race replays all the time. Whether it's online, YouTube, if you got race track television network, RTN, you can pull up those race replays there. You can study and look to see how well or if any trends are happening at the track that you play at. And if there's any track bias, which means horses from the inside are winning or from the outside are winning, or early speed horses or closers are winning, take note of that by watching the replays and see if you can spot anything. And I would play those horses no matter what their odds until that pattern changes. Another way to do it, beneficial way, whatever past performances you use, you can, a lot of the premium editions like the Ultimate Past Performances have like track stats and track bias stats, and it shows you how many percentages won from the early or inside post or the mid post or late outside post. Also, did horses win from the that went to the lead, if that was a running style, or have closers been winning more often here lately? So that's some ways to keep track of track bias and to see if it exists and see if you can factor that into handicapping. Now let me point out, sometimes whoever wins a horse race is just the best horse. So if you have decent horses winning on the front end all the time, it's probably because they're good horses, not because no track bias. It's just when something wonky, something might be unusual, that you're like, wow, how did this horse win? It makes no sense that this horse won, other than the fact it could be a track bias in place. And so a lot of handicappers, really knowledgeable, smart handicappers have been around a while, swear by it. They firmly believe in track bias. So I would say keep an open mind, see if you think that that works. Always be open to something like that and factor that in. So study those race replays at your track, wherever you play at a lot. See if there's any certain patterns, post positions that are popping out to you. Look in those Ultimate Past Performances to see what kind of stats are, maybe horses are more inclined to win from different post positions, different running styles. And then just visually, when you're playing or if you're at the racetrack, see like, my gosh, speed is holding up really good. People are flying on the front, and there hadn't been a closer that came anywhere near the top three today. Then you might have a speed bias. And if you can figure out the pace scenarios and the horses that fit who's the pattern or the profile who's been winning, despite their odds, you're probably going to find some long shots until that track bias ceases to exist. So let me know if you believe in track bias. If you do, how do you handicap a track bias, or what's some tips that you use? If you hadn't already, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you subscribe to weekendhandicapper.com so you can get all the latest tools and tips and tutorials and resources that help you win at the track. So until next time, happy handicapping and smart wagering.